Very first question I want to ask you, man. How's Manny doing?
He's good. He's today's his birthday. Just got here. I just landed myself here in the Philippines, so we're all just getting ready for a big festive night tonight. Of course, we're all bummed and shattered over it. But oddly enough, I saw Manny right before he left. I went to his house and just to see how he was doing. He's like, bro, I'm fine. He goes, what bothers me is that everybody else, you guys are so sad. You guys come, you guys look so depressed and stuff. Because that's when I feel bad, because it makes me feel, he says, but this is boxing, bro. You know this better than anybody. Anything can happen. There's been so many times, bro, that we, like you said, there's been so many times, bro, that we are sitting here celebrating, and now we're just on the other side this time. So, we have to, lose with class and respect for the sport and take the loss as sportsmen. And he's 100% right. I said, you're right, bro. It's my bad. It's selfish. I don't know why I feel bad. I just feel bad because I feel you're disappointed, And he's like, no, it happened. Let's just, let's focus and let's go do it again. So he's in better spirits, I think, than all of us.
When you look at Marquez, he looks bigger and stronger than ever before. Do you question what he did to get that big?
I don't question it because I studied exercise and nutritional science as well. And science has given us so many tools over the course of years to change the body, to manipulate the body, to almost to where it looks metamorphosized to the human eye. But if you look at the facts of Marquez's training, and then you look at what he did, what he weighed on the scale, it's very conclusive that all we saw was better developed, a leaner, and more functional muscle that was put on to Marquez. In other words, he weighed 143 pounds. He appeared bigger at that weight, but when he fought Floyd Mayweather, he came in at the 147 and he didn't look the same way. So my point is that through science and the exercise and the nutrition and the 4-month program that he had, he was allowed so much recovery. He had somebody who was implementing a good scientific comprehensive program, a nutritional program, and that allowed his body to develop muscles and work on muscles that he's never used before. So he looked like he appeared to have this real big muscular frame, but in actuality he was just developed more functionally. And it just appeared differently because of the symmetry that he had.
Have there been talk of retirement? Does Manny Pacquiao want to fist fight? Does he want to go back and Timothy Bradley? Has he even spoke on it?
I can only tell you what he's told me personally, and he's like, what? It happens. Let's get focused, and we're going to vacation. Let's rest and focus, and let's do it again.
How bad do you think it will offend you guys if Marcus just takes this one win and retires?
How will it affect us?
Yeah, will you guys be offended by it? Will you guys
offended? I wouldn't. If it was me, I'd take my win and run. He did. I think he came in as good as he could possibly come in. I give them a ton of credit. They took the fight very serious. They trained 4 months for the biggest fight of his life. I think Marquez put everything into it, and I think he was going to go in there and die trying to win. I think a lesser guy would have quit. What I saw that was happening in the ring, and the blood and the cut and some of the punishment that Marquez was taking. And so I think he might have to sit there and ask himself, is this as good as it gets, or could he do it again one more time? But, who knows what kind of money he'll be offered. That might change his mind for the retirement. But as far as being offended, no. I mean, as far as for me, I can't speak personally about anybody else. I wouldn't be offended. I'd take my victory and run and just say, hey, man, I beat the baddest dude on the planet. Call it what you want. Call it luck. Call it, faith, or call it good-ass, hard-ass training. But either way, I won.
I've seen Marquez so many times hit Pacquiao with more cleaner shots than that, and it stunned him, but it didn't knock him out. And, I mean, what was the thoughts going through your mind of looking at Marquez and what he's done and what he did? Like, what was your personal thoughts on that?
At that moment, they never changed from when I first watched the 24/7. When I saw Marquez doing, even though, Heredia was training Marquez using different exercises, but we both used a very foundation of ballistic training methods. So maybe their exercises and their circuits were different, but it was very, very similar to what we did, what Manny and I have done for years as we marched through the division. And so when I see somebody doing what I do, that was always my advantage, bro, in the past, to be honest with you. I knew that I had science, that I was applying science to conditioning my fighters. And on the other side, most of the boxing trainers were still using the old school methods and archaic techniques. So I always felt like that was my advantage. And going into this fight, knowing that advantage was taken away, and now it's now on the other side now I'm on the other side, watching somebody else apply a science that I've studied and researched and been a student of almost my whole life. And now I'm watching it being applied to my opponent, to our opponent. So I was definitely, there was a concern. I voiced my concern. I even said, I was afraid of it. What could come out of that.
Okay. I mean, I understand, the situation that, applying the exercises, but his past didn't make you a little suspicious of what was going on?
Already his past?
Yeah.
No, because I told you, like I said,
to Balco and the steroid issue.
Yeah. Here's the thing. It's very hard for me to say yes because it would be hypocritical for me to even begin to even go down that path because I did the same thing with Manny. When Manny went from 130 to 135, people said he doesn't look the same. When he fought Oscar De La Hoya, they said, where's his body coming from? When he fought Cotto, when he fought Hatton, when he fought Margarito, you saw a whole completely different Manny. Even though on the scales, Manny didn't appear that much different, except 3 or 4 pounds in difference at the most. But his body, the muscularity, the symmetry, this is overall mass, threw people for a loop. And I was immediately accused of it, of steroids and doping. And it didn't just stop there. It carried on to Amir Khan. It carried on over to Chavez Jr. It carried on over to Linares. So, and I don't expect people to understand it, but science is as complex as it gets, but it gives so much information as far as to the physiology and the biomechanics and and nutrition, things that you can do and manipulate to make your body react and develop in certain ways, in different ways, that I think you took a body that had never been exposed to any kind of scientific program, and you took somebody who brought nutrition and science, and there was a development. But not only that, he took 4 months, which means that was a lot of higher intensity of training, lots more recovery time, a longer period of nutritional implementation. So when you choose something that is so meticulously thought out and drawn out, those are the kind of results that you're going to get. You can talk to a lot of people who take steroids, bro, for a lot of years, and they don't look like that. If you do things right, and you do them correctly, and you do the research and you apply it, those are the results you're going to get. So for me to sit here and say, it looks suspicious and this and that, well, maybe to the layman, but to the scientist and the researcher who has studied the science, not to us. That's normal. It's what's supposed to happen. It's a good job done.
Okay. Now, during the fight, during the weigh-in, a lot of people looked at Manny Pacquiao's body and was saying that it didn't look the same. And I've heard and seen some reports where you said that he wasn't doing the drills properly, that he just wasn't following the regimen. Was that true, Alex?
Yes, it was true. I mean, the plan for this fight was more of a boxing plan, and Manny didn't do any strength and conditioning for this fight. But, it's 2020, I can Monday morning quarterback and say, you know what, this is the reason why we've looked like we looked against Mosley, against Bradley, against Marquez 3, and Marquez 4 now. So, I mean, when you look and people say, how come Manny doesn't look the same? How come his body doesn't look the same? How come his power's not like how it was? How come this? How come that? As a coach, I have to sit there and evaluate, what are we doing now that we're not being so successful? And what were we doing back in the day when we were being so successful, been bigger, stronger, faster, more powerful guys? What were we doing then? And the only thing that's missing right now is our strength and conditioning program. And that goes for everybody. It just showed on Linares, it showed on Amir Khan, it shows, on Chavez. So it's one of those things. They have to make the decision, and you have to get support on things like that.
Do you feel like Manny's being lazy? He's been at the pinnacle of the sport, for several years. He's been number 1 pound for pound ranked. And do you think he's reading his press clippings to say that he's, invincible and he just got lazy? Is that your train of thought?
To be honest, that's a question for Manny as to why he didn't want. Maybe it's, maybe we're reading too much into it too. Maybe it was just a decision that they may have come up with and said, you know what, we're going to go back to the old way of boxing, the old school way, and we're not going to do strength and conditioning. Maybe it was just that simple. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it doesn't have to be. because he didn't train like he was lazy, and his focus wasn't that of somebody who's lazy and not motivated. He had all those tools. But here's the thing, and you know what the definition of insanity is? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You cannot expect to do and train the same way over and over and again. And just because everybody has a different mental approach and a different mental focus and a different idea doesn't mean that the outcome is going to be different. Marquez did everything underneath the sun. He abandoned centuries and centuries of old boxing Mexican traditional techniques and methods, and he applied a very comprehensive and technical science, and he evolved and became a completely different person and went into that ring a complete fighter. We went in there lacking one particular instrumental thing, and that was no strength and conditioning during the whole camp.
Okay. Now, Alex, before I let you go, man, I just got one more question, man. You know, me, myself, I would never tell a fighter to retire. That's not my place. But as a friend, I would want to see it. Do you want to see Manny back? Do you think it's time for Manny to start taking a look at, to say, you know what, it's time for me to go ahead and step away. There's nothing else to prove.
Okay, and I'm going to give you why I don't. First of all, look at what Marquez did at the age of 39. Marquez has been in a lot more different wars than Manny has. But I have a lot of faith in what Manny can do when he puts his mind to something. Not just faith, but I've seen it. But more importantly, I think America and I think the world loves a comeback. I think movies are built on the comeback. I think Manny would be a bigger star than he's ever been with a big comeback. But that being said, he has to want to change the way he trains. And that is going to be entirely up to him.
So basically, Manny is not training as hard as he's supposed to train.
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant to say is Manny has to implement what got us here to begin with over this, going through those divisions. He's got to go back to the science. He's got to go back to the strength and conditioning, the nutrition. That has got to be the focus. At 34 years old and at 39 years old, like Marquez took out most of the boxing and focused on the strength and conditioning and the nutrition. He went in there. He already knows how to fight. You have to build your body. We're not kids. These guys are not in their 20s anymore. The whole foundation of this sport is conditioning and the strength that these guys have. And that's what gets them through these fights. I can tell you that Marquez that fought the other night was not the Marquez we've seen in the last fight before this one. That Marquez that we fought on Marquez 3, Pacquiao 3, if that's Manny and that's Marquez gets knocked out last Saturday. That was a whole different, a new developed Marquez. It paid off. I think Nacho Beristain is by far will be a Hall of Fame trainer. Should be trainer of the year. And I think Memo Heredia deserves some the credit for transforming Marquez into what I saw last Saturday night. Because I think it's just a huge step for science and nutrition.